self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bushiri's church in Malawi in his personal capacity. Now, the party says it did not sanction Shivambu's trip and has distanced itself from his actions. Shivambu is in Malawi for the church's annual Easter service. This is despite Bushiri's status as a fugitive in South Africa, after he, as well as his wife, absconded their bail and fled the country in 2020. Now, the couple face multiple charges, including rape, violating bail conditions, as well as breaching financial and immigration laws. They're currently appealing a Malawian court ruling that found South Africa does meet extradition requirements for cases against them. Now, Shivambu has since taken to social media praising what he describes as Bushiri's outstanding leadership. But in response, his party has urged all its members to uphold ethical leadership. Now, Justice Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi has criticized uMkhonto weSizwe's Secretary General Floyd Shivambu for this trip then, and joins us now, in fact, then. Minister, thank you so much for the time. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on this Easter Sunday as well. Indeed, ultimately a very serious matter. What does this do for how South Africa ultimately looks in the context of justice when we're trying to get this man, Pastor Shepherd Bushiri, back into the country to face all these charges?
Good morning, Arabile. I think we had to issue a statement, and we'd see this is one of the rare moments where you issue a statement about the conduct of an individual activities. But the issue with Mr. Shivambu is that he's just not an ordinary South African. He's a leader within the political system of South Africa. And we do believe that followers do follow what he does. They will believe in what he does. And we appreciate what uMkhonto weSizwe as a party that is represented in parliament has been able to do to distance themselves this. Because we can't afford South Africans themselves to undermine the rule of law, to undermine their own justice system, and go and promote a foreign national in another country. You leave South Africa as a South African to go and undermine your own country in another country. That's not patriotism. And surely for somebody like Floyd, whom I've known for years, I'm really disappointed. It's uncharacteristics for somebody to really forget about your own country, to go and do something else that undermines the very nature, the fiber of his own society and country in another country. Just for the benefit of an individual.
Does it matter, however, that, I mean, Floyd Shivambu, and while one may agree that he certainly is a prominent member of a political party within the country, a clear opposition party as well, but he isn't part of the cabinet. He isn't part of President Jacob Zuma's President Cyril Ramaphosa's government of national unity either. Does that matter? Does that increase his freedom, so to speak, in a case like this, where it doesn't matter as much because he isn't actually part of cabinet?
He is a Secretary General of a political party that is represented in Parliament. So that's the fact. When a political party participates in a democracy, and that's what I'm saying, I appreciate what uMkhonto weSizwe as a party have done, because it shows that they understand the importance of the rule of law. They understand the role political parties play in upholding the systems, the democratic systems in the country, because tomorrow we can't come and cry that the systems have collapsed when we have, as individual leaders, have collapsed those systems. So he does have a responsibility. As a leader, you don't just have only leadership. When you assume leadership responsibilities, you have obligations, you have responsibilities that you do. And that's why speaking out, because we understand that they are followers. And at the time we issued a statement, uMkhonto weSizwe had not yet issued a statement. So we were worried that even the party's members might think this is the right thing to do. A fugitive is a fugitive. You can't want to distance, to associate yourself with somebody who has run away from the law.
Yeah. Does this, do you think, embolden Pastor Shepherd Bushiri?
I do. I think so, because I watched what he said in the clip that he praised Floyd, which he posted on his social media. He argues that South Africa is pursuing black investors. He's not an investor. If he believes he's an investor, he must come to the South African courts and answer these charges that he has.
Yeah.
Because we do believe that there's a case for him to answer. Otherwise, NPA would not have gone to court. Now, he makes a comment that we believe or we praise white investors at the behest of black investors. That can be correct. You have a person who is not even a South African, who has the nerve and audacity to insult us as South Africans and our own systems as a country. And you have a South African leader sitting there, clapping hands. That can be accepted.
Does Floyd Shivambu then have to face some sort of recourse or any kind of disciplinary action or the like? Not because he's a member of cabinet, not because he's ultimately even a citizen that holds political office of the country ultimately, but only of a political party itself. Is there any kind of recourse that ultimately he faces off the back of this? Or is this going to have to be handled by the MK party?
We will leave that to the political party that he belongs to. From a government system and legal framework, we can't charge him, we can't do anything. And that's why we are issuing a statement to say we have a responsibility as leaders to uphold the rule of law, but to promote justice within our country, to ensure that people from outside South Africa don't continue to undermine our country because they think that is a banana republic where everybody can arrive and do as they please and go out and have individuals supporting them. We urge political parties to be on the caution, to also urge all leaders to remind them that they have responsibility, but they have a duty for all of us to work in building the South Africa that we want.
All right. Minister, please would you share, if you can, a little bit just with regards to the latest, with regards to the extradition then of Pastor Shepherd Bushiri. Is there anything that you could share with regards to that, any sort of changes and what the next steps are?
Yeah, we won the case in terms of him being extradited. So the Malawian courts have found basis for him to the case from South Africa that he does qualify for extradition. He needs to come and answer for the cases that are before court, him and his partner. That is before the courts. What he has done and what we wanted was that he should be in custody so that when he does his appeal, in custody.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Malawian court felt that he needed to be free while he is appealing. We are confident in the appeal because there is no basis. One is that he doesn't, because there are the laws in terms of mutual assistance, where countries sign agreements that when there is a person in your country that is needed by law enforcement, you cooperate. We do cooperate a lot with Malawian government in a number of cases that they request. They do send me letters to say this is the person that we request, that you must request your courts to give us either accounts or individuals to come back. So within that framework, we have met the requirements as South Africa for him to be extradited. He has appealed, obviously, it's within the justice system in Malawi to allow him this appeal. We're looking at that. They did grant him, that's why he's out in March, just around towards the end of March, if I'm not mistaken, where they made a decision that the High Court will hear his matter. We're looking forward to being in that court as South Africa to ensure that he's extradited to come and face the law. And that's why we always say that South Africans, sometimes they say, when a person has done wrong, we must deport them. It's difficult to get them back. So that's why it's important to keep them within the shores of South Africa. They face the law, they go through the trial and conclude, and they can only leave if they have not been found guilty or they have been released.
Yeah. Minister, just very quickly as a final question, is it correct to say that he's only been allowed to come back into the country to face 3 of the initial 13 charges that had initially been placed then against him? And if you were to give your best case scenario, by when would you anticipate that hopefully Shepherd Bushiri would be back in the country following all the procedure that is still left?
Yeah, we're hoping that there's no much delay because we are almost at the end. We should be able to get him. I don't anticipate that the year will end without him coming to South Africa to face what the charges are. We'll deal with it. We'll update it. It becomes difficult to give him the time frames because you're dealing with another country.
Yeah.
Similarly with the charges, it will be when he arrives in South Africa because remember, he was on bail for particular charges.
Yes.
So his legal team and everybody else will have to argue whether the other charges within the South African laws will fall. What Malawian government was saying, based on 3 full charges, he does qualify for extradition, not for trial particularly. So South African government and its justice system will bring him back to say, at the time you ran away from South Africa, these are the charges that you face. His legal teams will have to argue to say these are the charges that must fall, and that will be within the court of law in front of a judge.